So it isn't just male female here, in my opinion. I think I want to talk about that, and that's why this question is important. But I think it's responsibility and stature in society.
Yeah.
That family men that have a vested interest in their country and how things operate should have the vote, and some crackhead should not have the vote.
And this is the way it used to be.
Hi, my name is Jerry Dorris. This is Tanner Cartwright, and this is Snake on the Table. What's the snake?
All right.
Who asked this question?
Yeah, who did this?
Who put that? You put that in there.
I didn't put it in there. Was this one we got?
We've gotten it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have. So the question today, the snake that we want to put on the table is, should women, who are wonderful, be allowed to vote?
We had it in here before.
It was under the 19th
Yeah,
Amendment.
should the 19th Amendment be repealed?
So it's been asked twice. We have to answer it.
Yeah, this is coming up a lot.
So should the 19th Amendment be repealed? Obviously, the 19th Amendment dealt with who could vote.
Women's suffrage. Yep.
Yeah.
I would say the answer to that question is maybe.
I would say okay.
And I got a couple thoughts on that.
Sure.
So I think in general, yes, we should repeal that.
Oh, okay.
And that women should not be allowed to vote.
Should not be voting. So if you
wait, no, that is the question. Should women be allowed to vote? I would say no.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I was getting nervous. I thought we were about to have a fight.
But and here's my hesitation on that. Is I think that there's some wisdom to landowners and property owners and stuff, those that have a vested interest in our society having some legal way to see how they are governed.
I don't disagree with that. I would argue for a household vote.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. In that context, there's a context. So I'm for household voting in our church.
Sure.
And but we have ladies that are
single ladies.
They're single ladies.
Yeah.
And and they speak for their household.
So it's almost a separate issue. I would argue that someone who doesn't have a vested interest in the economy or in our country should not be voting.
Right.
So someone they don't own a business, they don't own land, they don't own property.
Some 18-year-old punk, they should not be allowed to vote.
Yeah, I don't want to get sidetracked on the demonstrable evils of democracy, but a crackhead in Louisville gets the same vote I do. Right. As a pastor, father of 7, business owner,
ridiculous.
I employ multiple people.
Utterly ridiculous.
Retarded.
Ridiculous.
It's just the craziest idea ever.
We have equal votes, crackhead and Tanner Cartwright.
It's stupidity. It's just insane. And so you have just from a societal level, you have someone that is a stellar member of society. I was trying not to laugh. Someone that's an upstanding citizen in society, that they're bringing stuff to the table. They're bringing their work, their labor. They're employing other people. They're producing children, goods, whatnot. And then someone who is doing nothing and living on public housing gets a vote the same way. That's crazy.
So, I mean, we're in the middle of this. We're revamping it. We can create our own nation. We can do whatever we want. We can repeal the 19th, whatever. I'm going to argue that we go farther than just not allowing women to vote.
I think the issue's way bigger than that.
It's way bigger than that.
Yeah.
So it isn't just male female here, in my opinion. I think I want to talk about that, and that's why this question is important. But I think it's responsibility and stature in society.
Yeah.
That family men that have a vested interest in their country and how things operate should have the vote. And some crackhead should not have the vote.
And this is the way it used to be.
Right.
Okay. So the idea that we wouldn't allow, black people to vote or women to vote, well, that was not true.
Right.
Everyone wants to bring up the 3/4 vote with the slaves. Well, that was specifically to keep plantation owners from having a monopoly on votes. Okay.
Right.
But regardless, the way that in our founders, the way they set it up, women could vote. if they were landowners and business owners and
Right.
those kind of things, and they were the head of the household.
Right.
Now, I would argue that if you have a man and a wife in a house, the man is making the final decision to vote.
Yeah.
Now, I would argue that it's in a well-ordered home, the way that I would order my home, me and my wife are in complete agreement with how we vote.
Yeah.
Most of the time, she don't care. Okay. She just don't care.
Yeah.
And when I sit down and I'm like, we need to vote this way because of this, this, and this, the last time when we went out to vote, it wasn't just the presidential, it was all these other things. And literally she, I took one of the practice sheets and showed her how I was voting and why I wanted to vote that way.
So that you went in and
I got 2 votes.
You got 2 votes.
On every
I got
issue.
2 votes.
On every issue.
My wife and I, we hit
Yes.
on
and the way that is portrayed is that I am threatening my wife or domineering over my wife.
Well, Kamala even ran on that idea. There was some ad that was like, "Hey, man, you got to ladies secretly vote for the
other way."
Kamala for this."
It's so gay. It's trying to separate marriages and families is what it is, divide them.
Yeah.
But a husband that's leading his home well should, in any decision, make those decisions with his wife in the sense of, honey, this is what I think we need to do, and this is why.
Yeah.
And if he can't convince her, then this decision should still be his to make. But Lord willing, you do the hard work and you show your wife and you convince her.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I would argue. But but on a societal level, I think that you should have to prove that you have a right to vote.
There should be a greater criteria than age.
Than breathing.
It's age. Age is the only criteria.
Yes.
And if you reach a certain age, male or female,
Boom.
you get to vote.
You get to vote.
And this is why you get...
all the mess we have.
This is why we're in a lot of the mess we are.
Yeah.
There is a female component to that, I would argue. And so let's just talk about that. Should women themselves be allowed to vote? Let's forget the landowner, forget the age requirement, husband status. Should women? And I would argue that the way God has made women and the way God has made men are different. And men, in general, here, I think we've been given an objectivity, leadership, a protective concern, that we have a societal concern that is more objective, I would say.
Yep.
Whereas a woman is more emotive, more swayed. I think this is why men should be in leadership across the board, and women should not be in leadership across the board. And
I think it's one of the reasons that God set it up that way.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are certain giftings that he's given to men.
Yes.
And there are certain giftings that he has given to women. Now, I did the exercise that Dr. Orrick did with the War College here. I wrote up on the board, I said, okay, describe a man to me. And they gave me all these attributes of what a man is, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, give me attributes of women. They're give me all these attributes. I said, no, which one would you want to lead our nation?
To be making decisions.
And everybody said, I want them this side.
The masculine attributes are those designed by God
for leadership,
to be the leader. Yes.
Right. And
so politics belong to men.
Right. Now, I would argue that a rightly ordered society with men who are submitted to God and submitted to his word are going to rule and make decisions that are of great benefit to women.
Yep. So, women would be much better off if only men voted.
Yeah, we'd have more women alive today.
There's a tweet.
Yeah. We'd have more women alive today if men had the vote.
So this has been said for forever because of the abortion issue. All you got to do is look at a map, and that if if only men voted, it'd be red every time. I genuinely believe if only men voted, we would abolish abortion.
Like that. Yeah. We'd criminalize abortion.
Because not only are there a lot of women out there that want to murder their children, but you also have women that are susceptible to emotional arguments of rape and incest and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Where I feel compassion for somebody, but objectively, I am not going to allow a baby to be murdered, because some horrible thing happened.
Yeah.
And so this is why men should be judges and all, all
this will
these
be
things.
true. This will be true of this immigration. So right now,
100%.
immigration is
you're about to see
a lot of crying
thousands
people.
of pictures of little brown kids crying.
Did you see what happened on Monday? The app closed down and the person's crying. You realize it's a federal holiday and there are no schedules on a federal holiday? We were played. I didn't realize that. I just realized
It's
that
all
we
a
were being
theater.
played by
It's
that.
all a theater.
While the
man.
ladies were being played, the men
Yeah.
were like, "Okay, you're
I
crying.
was like,
What you're crying at?" I mean, sorry,
I don't care.
but
Yeah.
that person was actually crying while they were in Mexico because their appointment wasn't made. They
I
weren't
didn't
allowed to
even
come.
know that.
Yeah, they were in Mexico, and that happened.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
on this issue of immigration, if it was just a democracy and voting, we get to vote for, we would be overrun.
Yeah.
Because the women would be, we have to love look at these babies, look at these children. And that's actually a feature and a design within a woman. It's a
feature, not a bug.
They're designed to love
Such a
and
good
nurture
thing.
and care, whereas men
100%.
can say, okay, yes, I see that, but objectively we have to protect ourselves. We have to make sure that we are taking care of our own. And
Well, just so let's be real. Frankly, I understand and recognize that if we allow immigrants to overrun our nation, we become no good to anybody.
yeah,
We can no longer help anyone.
yeah,
And so, for example, if I, as a father of 7, if the government brings 20 kids to my door and says, hey, I want you to take care of these, I'm going to say, I'm out. I can't. Not because I don't care about those children, but because I recognize that, you're going to overwhelm me to the point that I can care for no one.
yeah.
We can only do so much. And immigration does not, by just allowing people to flood in, you will crush the ability to help anybody.
Yep.
And so objectively, I can look in that and say, without it bothering me at all, send them all back. And I can say that, and I will not be moved on that. I don't care what pictures I see. And it just doesn't affect me because I know what's right.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Well, so that going back to the issue of should women be allowed to vote, I think that's actually a feature of men and a feature of women that can be exploited for deception,
100%.
for manipulation in women. That you don't want that.
Yep.
And so I think our government and our state would be better served if men voted.
Yeah.
And then I would argue household voting.
Yeah.
I like a system where you have a vested interest, and it's not just any man, and it's not just any woman necessarily. It's because you have a financial stake in the game and in society.
You ever heard of Rhodesia?
Yes, I have.
So in Rhodesia, you had to prove that you had the right to vote. So for example, like it was based on education level or accomplishments. Mm-hmm. So you might not have a high education level, but you might have built a business, or you might own land, or be a farmer, or whatever. And you could go to court, and you would prove, this is my resume for why I should be allowed to vote. And I have a vested interest in this country. I should be allowed to vote.
Yeah.
And they would allow people to vote or not vote. And so you might not own land or this, that, and the other, but you might have a really high education level, and you're going to be a doctor. You're going to, be something, consequential in a societal sense. Yeah. There's another thing women aren't going to like, the idea of saying someone's consequential and someone's not, or less consequential. That's going to bother our women listeners. And so, but it's true, and from a societal level especially. And so that the reason that Rhodesia, you've never heard of it most likely, is because it's not Rhodesia anymore. It got destroyed. It got shut down by all the Western nations that were pushing for straight democracy. Yeah. And now it's a hellhole.
Yeah, Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
I just want to, we have a throwback to this idea in when someone's a criminal, they've committed a federal crime, they've lost their ability to vote, because we recognize that that unsavory people that don't care about society, shouldn't be governing society or having a vote in society. And so that's a throwback to that whole idea. So it's amazing to me that you can have a deadbeat, just sign them up at the college here, and they have no vested interest, no care. They're moved by some.
They've got a Che Guevara T-shirt on.
Yeah, they're moved by some social activist that's pushing them or whatever, and they have a vote, and yet a criminal, he's not allowed to vote. He's lost that.
Yeah. No, I know men that are like fathers, husbands, hardworking men, but they committed federal crimes.
Yeah.
And so now they can't vote for however long. At some point, I think they can go back and have that. They can
I
appeal
think
it
I would
after
argue
10, 20 years.
if we're
or whatever.
reforming all of this, I would say that a person who has done their time in society and they're working,
They've proven themselves.
They're proven themselves
Yep.
again that they should be allowed to vote.
Yep.
Because I know men, just like you're talking about, they are now hardworking family owners, homeowners, wife, all that kind of stuff. They should have their vote back.
I had a guy working with me one time, and it was time to vote, and I was like, "Hey, you going to vote tomorrow?" And he was like, "I can't."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I can't." And he said I can repeal it in like 10 years or whatever. So
yeah,
but
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we made a lot of people mad with this one.
it is what it is.
Maybe not our crowd, but
Yeah.
this will eke outside of our crowd, and somebody's going to grab it and go, "They don't think women should vote." I'm like, well, sorry,
we really don't.
I
It
don't know
just
what to
is
tell
what it
you.
is. So
respect the beard. That's all I got to say.
yeah, I think why are you gay? But
Yeah.
so I think the way you started was correct.
So I think the way you started was correct.
That maybe, I think that in a correctly ordered society, you could have a situation. For example, I'm a business owner. I've got 7 kids. Whatnot. If I ended up owning property and all this stuff, and have built something, and I die, and my wife owns it all,
I would expect.
is there an argument that she should vote?
I would say that there is.
I would agree.
My wife should be able to vote for our house.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll agree.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. If you've got a question for us, you can write to us at snakeonthetable.com, and we would love to entertain it.
God bless.